You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Hola, ¿cómo está? I am back. Yes. I was going to start the day by going, where were you people? I was here yesterday, but no, it was Kyle. Kyle took my time slot for me. But I am back, and we've got a fun show today. But I'm not going to start with a joke. I've been starting with jokes lately, but today I wanted to start about something that I got reminded of that I just find fascinating. And it's from the world of sports. Have you ever heard of an e-bug? Now, for those of you who aren't hockey fans, an e-bug is the emergency backup goalie. Now, in football, they now have a thing where you have an emergency backup quarterback. And what happens is he's a player on your team, and he's usually on the practice squad, and you designate him when the game starts. And if something catastrophic happens and you lose both your starting quarterbacks, you can go to your emergency one. Now, if he comes in, the other guys can't come back. It's just a safety net to prevent what happened to the 49ers during the playoffs last year. And if you don't know what that is, I'm not going to explain it because that's not what we're talking about. But hockey has a different setup. Most professional leagues require each home team to maintain a list of local non-professional goaltenders available to either team who can be used in the exceptional case that one or both of the team's normal goalies are injured or unavailable, such as the goaltender who fulfills that role is known as an emergency backup. That's an e-bug. And there are things that happen, like a player gets traded, or right before the game, and doesn't make it in time. There's a car accident. There's an injury. All right. So, but instead of each team having their own, the arena has one. So, say you get, but basically what happens is you're a goaltender for a minor league setup. You play occasionally. Maybe it's a senior league or something. I don't know. And you're on this list, and you are given tickets to the game, and something happens, and they're down to one. They basically get ready. They sew your name on the back of a jersey, and they tell you, suit up. And sure enough, you're there, you're ready. And then if that guy goes out, you go in. And you would think this doesn't happen that often, but it does. Not as much in the NHL. It happens a lot in lower leagues, but it has happened quite a few times in the NHL. David Ayers, George Alves, Matt Berlin, Scott Foster, and most recently Tom Hodges, who just went in last year for the Mighty Ducks. But my favorite has to be David Ayers. Now, Ayers, he's a great example of this. Back in 2020, he got called in. He was a Zamboni driver during the day. So he drove the machine that preps the ice. And he would do it during the game, except when one of the Carolina Hurricanes players went down, they put him in a uniform. Now, and this guy's 42 years old at the time. And he ends up going in after goalies James Remar and Peter Marzik both end up leaving the game because of injury in the second period. So there's still the whole, the rest of the game to go. Now, it didn't start well. Ayers allowed 2 goals on 3 shots in the very beginning. and that wasn't good. But he settled down, stopped the next 7 shots on goal, and in the third period, helping to secure a 6-3 victory. Now, what's interesting is that Ayers is now the oldest goalie to record a win in his regular season NHL debut. And the team saw how popular this guy was suddenly. All the fans absolutely loved it. Now, with the Ducks guy, they were on the road. So it wasn't his, he was actually he was there for a different team and ended up playing for the Ducks because they were the traveling team. But with Ayers, he was on the home team. They were in Carolina, and the locals just went crazy for him on social media. So the team decided to start selling jerseys and shirts and stuff with his name and number on it. And Ayers decided that part of the proceeds, and he would get part of the sales, but he also decided that part of the proceeds should go to charity. So there, the guy got famous for playing basically a period and a half at 42 years old in the NHL. I think that is just one of the weirdest things. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. We got a great lineup today. We got a couple shows after this. We got What's in the Box with Miss Jen. Then Dave O'Shea is going to be the guest on the comic book Beardies. And tonight on Sketch Up, Log and Mel just have a lot of people. Just a ton of people. So, Canadian, if Scotty Young is doing Batman, that's their personal life. I don't think we should discuss that any more than we should discuss Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. No, I love the idea that Scotty Young is going to do a Batman book. That is awesome. I haven't seen the actual news on that yet, but I think that's great. So what are the big stories today? Well, outside of this world, of course, it's people pleading guilty, people not getting jobs in the Senate, wars, but we don't really care about any of that, do we? I mean, come on. Let's focus on the important things. Deadpool. In what is Deadpool? I just washed my mouth and I can't do a damn thing with it. In what is one of the first major blows to the 2024 theatrical release schedule, basically Deadpool 3 is getting bumped out of its May 3rd time slot because the movie just, even if the strike ended today, they will not have time to finish shooting and get everything done. So it's going to get bumped. Now, where is it going to get bumped to? Well, that's kind of interesting. The place that people seem to think it's going to go is going to swap places and take the July 26th spot where Captain America Brave New World is. But the idea isn't that then bumps Cap to the next spot and the next spot and the next spot, because Disney really hates giving up these prime spots. So instead, they're saying that there's a good chance they could have Brave New World ready for May 3rd. And the reason they're saying that is because it finished production. It's in post-production. So unless they need to do some reshoots, they could conceivably get this out by May 3rd, depending on special effects, stuff like that. So, like I said, they don't want to give that up. Now, the other place then, if it doesn't take July 26th, it'll probably bump all the way out to November. And Marvel does well in November. They got Black Panther Wakanda Forever took place there, Thor Ragnarok. And both of those, well, one did 859 million, the other did 855 million. So they do all right in November. Now, will they do as well with Captain Marvel? We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so that we'll see. Or it could go all the way to December 20th, 2024, which is where Marvel currently has Thunderbolts, which is already probably going to get pushed because they shut down production on it at the start of the strike, and they really hadn't got that far into it. So expect all this stuff to just keep moving, especially until they can actually get this this strike settled. There was I don't have this information on this, but some of the bigger named actors like Scarlett Johansson, George Clooney, and a couple others made a proposal to SAG-AFTRA that they would start paying into a fund to offset the cost for the lower paying or the lower level actors to kind of balance it out a bit, and so that it would stop one of the sticking points in signing a new deal. Now, I don't know how all that works, but I love the fact that these bigger named actors who make millions and millions and millions and millions are actually stepping up going, no, we don't need to make all of it. We can put 50 million back in and help fix the system and make sure that the money first goes to those that need it the most. So fingers crossed, because I know that they pitched it to Fran Drescher and the rest of the heads at SAG, and maybe this will jumpstart talks. We'll see. Let's see. Better hope that Scotty is forgiving Lover, because we all know what Batman doesn't do. That's an old reference there, JD. By the way, we have JD on the board. I thought the strikes were over. Must have misheard something. The writer's strike is over. The actor's strike is not. Everybody thought they would be soon, and they all went back to negotiating table. They spent like a week and a half of serious negotiations, and the studios are still not giving in any. It's a back and forth, so we'll have to see where this ends up. Yeah, so maybe this will get everybody back to the table. Let's see. Good news for fans of The Boys and their spin-off series Gen V. Amazon just announced that they're going to do a second season of Gen V. Now, I'm 2 episodes in. I have not had a chance to get back to it. I started watching it when Lisa was down here. It's a little over the top for her, a little too gory. So the season finale is already heading up on November 3rd. We'll be seeing that. But episode 6 drops this week, called Jumanji. Can't even imagine what that's going to have to do with. That's going to come out on Friday, tomorrow. Amazon has yet to release any data about the series' performance so far, and it hasn't quite been a month since the first 3 episodes premiered, which was the 29th, meaning that the series wouldn't appear yet on the Nielsen streaming charts. It's possible that more data will be available in the coming weeks, and we'll see if the series cracks the top 10. All right. We were talking about the Marvels, and the reports on pre-ticket sales are not great. And they're not. What's funny is if it was any other movie, it wouldn't be a problem. But the numbers for this 4 weeks lead tracking, so we're 4 weeks from the movie coming out, I think it is, and it's looking to be about 75 to 80 million. It opens on November 10th. That is roughly, they say that's roughly 50% below the opening of the first Captain Marvel movie. But you can't compare the opening of Captain Marvel to this, because you have to take, because the movie exists in a cohesive universe, you have to take into account when the movie came out. Captain Marvel came out between Infinity War and Endgame. People were at a peak of Avengers at that point. They were looking to see what was going to happen next, and they knew that Captain Marvel was going to be part of it. But who, how, what? We got the teaser for it at the end. So I think everybody went and saw Captain Marvel. Now Captain Marvel's having to exist on the fan bases of Captain Marvel, on the fan base of Miss Marvel from the TV show, and on the fan base of Monica Rambeau from WandaVision. So 75 to 80 puts it in the same range as movies like Ant-Man, or so, which would be kind of expected, I think, if Captain Marvel hadn't opened during, between those two Avengers films. But also, we spent the last month, putting out the advertising for this, which started later than they normally do, without the actors being able to be out there pushing it. We don't have Brie Larson and Aman Vellani and Tiona Paris out hitting the late night circuits and doing the press junkets and stuff, because they can't. The best thing for Marvel, possibly, the best thing that could happen to Marvel would be for the actor strike to end tomorrow. And then they could spend the next few weeks just putting these three women out everywhere, and Samuel L. Jackson and everybody else, and just take cats to all the screenings and stuff. I wonder if the cats that play in the movie are part of SAG, and if they're technically on strike. Because I think what they ought to do is a press junket with just cats sitting on the little director chair things, and having the people from these kind of these shows that always interview them trying to interview the cats who play the Flurkins. I think that would be brilliant. But so we'll have to see if it picks up any, or if that's the range the movie's going to come out at. JD says, I feel the theater industry lives and dies by the success of Marvel and Star Wars movies right now, with the occasional surprises like Barbenheimer. Ed says, sounds like a good comic series to me. Shifting news here into animation. You guys know who Jay Oliva is? Jay has been not only a director of animation for DC and Marvel, but he's also worked on a lot of films as a storyboard artist. So some of the stuff he's done for Marvel and DC include The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. This is as a director. Justice League, The Flashpoint Paradox, Justice League War, Batman Assault on Arkham, Batman vs. Robin, Batman Bad Blood. And then as a storyboard artist, he worked on Man of Steel, 300 Rise of an Empire, Batman vs. Superman, Ant-Man, Deadpool, Wonder Woman, and Justice League. Well, now he is going to direct the 3D animated feature, The White Tower, based on Robert Jordan's epic novel, The Wheel of Time. And I don't know if you follow Wheel of Time. There's the Amazon Prime series. There's the book series that were started by Robert Jordan, and then he passed away, and Brandon Sanderson finished them. There's also a comic series going on over at Dynamite. They just launched a new, I think it comes out today or yesterday, a new second season of the comic, written by Rick Hoskin and drawn by Marcio Abreu. And they're great stuff. I mean, it's a good series, both in the show, the comics. a lot of the fans of the novels get, where they love the first bunch of books. When they get to the later ones and Jordan passes away, it just kind of, everything, it takes a while to get the, feelings back up. There we go. We got a link to Wheel of Time #1. So, but Brandon Sanderson does a good job finishing it. There's 14 novels in the series, and Sanderson also has great books on his own. His Mistborn series of books are phenomenal, as are a few other Storm Kings. No, don't remember the other ones. I read the Mistborn, and they're some of the most unique ways of giving people powers that are different than anything we've ever seen in like comics. I think somebody should be doing a Mistborn comic series. So, okay, we got one more, but Jay Oliva is going to be directing it. It's kind of a YA thing, but it should be good. It's the action adventure movie will chart the story of a young girl with special gifts. Her life is forever changed when evil visits her remote mountain village. Finding herself alone in a dangerous world, she must go to the White Tower to learn how to use her magical powers to save her family and friends. Rebellious and mistrusting, she learns that there is something in the world that is as powerful as a weapon in the fight against evil as any form of magic. That's about as generic of a synopsis as, I saw one on Prime the other night. I was flipping through entries, and I came across one for a detective series, and it talks about a retiring detective gets assigned one last case where things turn out to be not what they seem. And I'm thinking, isn't that every detective movie? The things aren't what they seem, not the retiring detective part, though that tends to be part of it too. All right, one more story. This involves Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe. Now, a year ago, fans were all like, Daniel Radcliffe should be Wolverine. He should be Wolverine. And I'm pretty sure they think he should be Wolverine because he's short. And they've never gotten over Hugh Jackman for being tall. Well, Daniel Radcliffe finally came out and said, no, I have no interest in playing Wolverine. Now, we're a year later, and Daniel Radcliffe is getting buff. He is pumping up, getting big, not tall, muscular. And he was on the Merrily We Roll Along. He's doing this thing, Merrily We Roll Along, and was asked on Vanity Fair does this thing called Lie Detector. They have guests on, and as people involved in a project, and they have them ask each other questions. And Daniel Radcliffe had the lie detector on, and Jonathan Groff asked him questions. If you don't know who Jonathan Groff is, he is from the movie Manhunter, or TV series Manhunter, but he's also the original King of England from Hamilton. Da 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 da. Yeah. So he asked him if he was bulking up for the role of Wolverine, and he said no. And what Radcliffe ended up saying was, yes, I got buff because I'm obsessive. I want to. You've seen my parents. I've never seen his parents. Unless he means Lily and James Potter, and they're dead. Just saying. He says, you've seen my parents. They're like insane fitness people. So that's just been passed on. But no Wolverine. Flattered, but no. All right, guys, so stop with the AI versions of Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine, and just wait to see what Kevin Feige does. All right, just chill. Just chill. Okay. I have no interest in playing Wolverine. Oh, he's got Rip to play Weird Al. There you go. I have no interest in playing Wolverine. That's what you say to them, Dan. That's how we get the big money out of them. Dan's agent. Do we really want Harry Potter as Wolverine? I mean, I know that Hugh Jackman came from stage. I know that, nothing surprised me more than I was sitting one night in, oddly enough, a hospital waiting room for my mother-in-law at the time. And they were playing Oklahoma, a performance from Australia. And Hugh Jackman walked out, and I looked up on the screen. I went, "That's Wolverine." And he looked at it and went, "Oh, what a beautiful boy." I went, "Oh my God, Wolverine can sing." So, yeah, that was shocking. And but just because Hugh Jackman came from musicals and went into it doesn't mean we should get a kid. I mean, come on. I want somebody gruff. I can't look at Harry. It'd be like casting Frodo. It'd be like casting Frodo. He's short. He'll be a great Wolverine. Really? All right. Let's go ahead and we'll take our first break. And when we come back, we'll do something. Be right back.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code. You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
And for the rest of you kids out there, a word of advice. Look out for the little guy. Make mistakes. Take chances. Because if there's one thing life's taught me, there's always room to grow. Yeah, I read it. I bought it. I read it. We're going to talk about it. Because there was two things this could have, well, there was two things this could have been. This could have been a complete waste of money, meta fluff piece that just was Marvel sucking money out of their fans' wallets. Or this could have been mildly interesting and, a good way to kill a couple hours. Turns out it's something completely different. But before we get to that, I do want to address Canadian's comment. It says, I have a strange feeling we just might see Selena Gomez before Swift in MCU, that is. I'm going to mildly disagree with you, not because yes, Taylor Swift will be in the MCU. I think there's a chance the fact that she was hanging out with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman and the director at the Kansas City Chiefs game. And I don't know if she's part of SAG-AFTRA. So technically she could work, but shouldn't. That would be crossing the picket line. But Selena Gomez just got announced for a 4th season of Only Murders in the Building. And that show takes up a lot of time because they don't really go a full year before filming. They basically, as soon as they wrap one up, Hulu makes the decision, and then they start working on scripts. So it tends to come out every 9 months, is what it's been. I mean, we've already had 3 seasons, but I don't think it's been more than. I don't think it's been 3 full years. And they've already, like I said, they're going to go. So with the actors' strike, I hadn't heard anything about Selena being there as well. Huh. Can you find a photo or a story about that you can link to? I'd love to see what it says. All right. So let's talk about this book. Meta fluff or meaningful? Good question. When I purchased it, now I'm the guy that also bought the Richard Castle books when they put them out when Castle was on the air, not thinking that Nathan Fillion had written a word of either book, any of the books, but just to kind of get that, be part, get into the show. This book was not written by Scott Lang. It was not written by Paul Rudd, though it may have been approved by Paul Rudd, I don't know. It was written by Rob Kuttner. Now, the first thing I want to say about this book is that Rob Kuttner found Scott Lang's voice. Now, I don't know if that's Paul Rudd's voice but when you read this, and I read this in a night and a morning. Okay, it's only 200 pages. It's pretty thick print. So this is not going to be, taking you forever. And it's also not an audiobook. And I love audiobooks. And I would totally have gotten an audiobook, especially if it had been read by Paul Rudd. But they don't have that yet. So I bought this, and reading it, Rob Kuttner writes in Scott's voice. He says the little side jokes, the dad jokes. It really does read like something Scott Lang would write. It's kind of mind-blowing in that sense that he really does find that character, which is awesome. Now, I'm going to completely shift topics here and bring it back around, because I'm going to get to what the book is about. When I first got into audiobooks, before Audible, and you actually had to physically buy CDs of audiobooks, not cassettes, not 8 tracks, I'm not that old. CDs. I bought one with an amazing title. Things I Overheard While Talking to Myself. That is a book by Alan Alda. Alan Alda read the audiobook too. I grew up on MASH. Alan Alda was the pinnacle of male. He was what you wanted to be as a guy. He was heroic. He had flaws. He was awesome. Hawkeye Pierce was the guy everybody wanted to be in my generation. Smart, clever, witty, great with the women, could make his own moonshine, got away with wearing Hawaiian shirts, bit dashing, everything you'd want. So I grew up a fan of Alan Alda. So I come across this book and I'm thinking, this is great. It's written by Alan Alda. It's read by Alan Alda. So I gave it a shot. And two things happened with this book. First, it introduced me to a writing style I had never seen before. And this is completely superfluous of the book we're talking about. But Alan Alda has a shotgun style of writing, which basically is he starts every chapter by throwing out a ton of ideas. And you think those are completely random. We're 4 paragraphs in and none of this makes sense. And then he starts to weave and kind of connect all the dots. And by the time you get to the end of the chapter, it all ties together perfectly. And I do mean perfectly. And then you turn the page to the next chapter and he shotguns out a bunch of new concepts. And the whole thing starts again. And that's his writing style. And it reminds me a bit of Loki, because that's what they did with episode 1. They shotgunned out there a bunch of things, and now they're sewing them together. And be interesting to see if they tie together perfectly at the end. The second thing was the concept, what he was writing about. Each chapter was a different thing from his life. It was a moment in time where he was asked to be a commencement speaker at a graduation, which happened a lot in that era. He was very popular and a bunch of colleges asked him to be the commencement speaker. And he did whenever he could. So he would sum up the things that were happening at that time with some type of life advice. And it was an interesting thing to read because you would learn about what was going on at that time. That was neat. But at the same time, you came out of it with an approach on how to handle life, how to handle adversity, how to handle the unexpected things that you weren't, that people just aren't intuitively know how to deal with. That's what this book is. I expected that it would be just kind of the MCU from Scott's point of view. It would be kind of reiterating the stories we already knew through Scott's voice. And there is touches of that. And it does go from the different events. It talks about him being in prison, why he made that decision, him basically destroying his marriage and choosing to help the customers by going after the company and giving up time with his daughter, which he regrets, not the helping, but the losing the time. And it goes from there through Civil War, the decision to do that, all of the stuff, all the way up to and before Quantumania. But it also dives into a lot of how he felt at that time and what it taught him, the life lessons he's learned. That last, that part I read, besides being the part that Paul Rudd reads in Quantumania, is a good summation of what the book is, because he talks about his feelings and dealing with getting out of prison with his only goal to spend time with his daughter, and realizing he hadn't earned it, that Cassie had a life with a mother who was looking out for her, with a stepfather, Paxton, who was looking out for her, and that he was the interloper at that point. He wasn't bringing anything to her life. He wasn't stable. He wasn't any of that stuff. But it also talks about his relationship with Hope, which doesn't get covered enough in the movies. It talks about his relationship with Hank, the trials of learning to use the suit, to how he found ways to communicate with the different types of ants and what he learned from that. And it's more than just, oh, I had to learn how to do it this way. There were stories. He would talk, he would throw out concepts and then tie them together. And, he went in just trying to be buddies with the ants, or once he got there, he looked around to see what was going to, what were they doing, and try to do what they do. And it wasn't until something threatened the colony and he actually found a way to help them, to actually save the colony, and not only do it, but do it with them, to work with them to save the colony, but to come up with the idea. And that's how he made that connection. So this isn't, like I said, just a fluff piece where it's dealing with, just connecting the dots. And there's a lot of actual interesting life advice in here. Some stuff that I took out of it and really kind of went, that's kind of interesting, Let's take a pause here for a second. Canadian says, all I can find is she went to dinner with Blake Lively after being seen with some Sophie Turner and Selena after game. So maybe it wasn't at the game, just cross stories. Okay. Yeah, because I actually watched the game and was watching the booth when they kept showing it, and I didn't see her, and that would have stood out to me. So, yeah. All right, so let's break it down this way. If you're a fan of the Ant-Man movies, you should pick up this book, because it really does fill in some of the character development that's been I don't want to say lacking, but better highlighted. He talks about his relationship with Luis, how important that is to him, why it means something to him. How, we see Luis butting up to him when he first gets into prison, but we find out how that Luis was the one that basically got him from getting his ass kicked in prison and kind of taught him the ways of prison. So, and we get a chance to see what the relationship really is between him and Hank. Hank, it always seems like Hank thinks Scott's an idiot, But obviously he doesn't think he's an idiot, or he wouldn't have pulled him in the first place. He wouldn't continue to let him use the Ant-Man suit. So there has to be something there, and we get a better idea of what that is. We get a better understanding of the connection between him and Hope. And we get a lot more of a connection between him and Cassie. So from that point of view, I think it's actually a really good book, just to show, from the point of view of somebody who can do all this amazing stuff, but still has to deal with relationship issues and life issues and learning from it. If he came out of prison so focused on wanting to build his life with Cassie and spending time with his daughter, then why did he get pulled into the heist with Lewis? That's always a big question for me. And yeah, we see, well, he's not getting anywhere. He gets fired from Baskin Robbins. And he does talk about Baskin Robbins, by the way, very highly. And there's a couple foreshadowing moments in this as well, which I think are pretty cool. But overall, I am surprised how much I like this book. I read it, probably was about 5-6 hours. It's not a long read, but it was enjoyable. And being that there is no strike against Hyperion Books, I think it's worth picking up. Like I said, if you're an MCU fan or a Ant-Man fan, it's a neat connector. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll wrap up the show right after this. Be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Everybody, welcome back. This story just broke, and I think it's really interesting, actually. The Problem with Jon Stewart has been canceled at Apple after 2 seasons. This is Deadline reporting. The New York Times, which broke the story, reported that the move came amid creative differences between the former host of The Daily Show and the tech giant. Topics such as China and AI were reportedly causing concerns among Apple executives, the paper said. Staff was told Thursday ahead of the start of production on its third season. The second season of The Problem with Jon Stewart premiered in October of 2022, and its 12 episodes ran through April. It came after the show secured an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Talk Series alongside Late Night with Seth Meyers, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. Now, the reason I think that is very interesting is because at the moment, The Daily Show doesn't have a host. Trevor Noah left. They've been circling or bringing in, rotating, they've been rotating guest hosts. I know Roy Wood Jr. has actually left The Daily Show, basically saying that he wants to either get the full-time hosting job or move on. So he's basically taken the gamble that they're either going to give it to him or he's going to go do something else. Could you imagine the ratings hit that would happen if Jon Stewart went back to The Daily Show? Even if it wasn't daily. If he took one night a week, if he just did Mondays. Monday night, Jon Stewart comes on, does a half hour, gets in all the stuff he wants to say and moves on. I think that would change a lot because I don't know how much you guys knew at the time that Jon Stewart was the host of The Daily Show. They would take polls and ask people where they got their news. And when it came to younger viewers, like 20 to 30 or 20 to 40, it was like 70, 80%. The Daily Show was their answer. He had a bigger following than Fox News, maybe not as loyal, but in that age group, he was everything. And now that age group is in the 40 to 50, 20, moved up. So I think that would be a huge thing. And for him to, have a difference of opinion, I don't think he got reined in much at Comedy Central. Now, I don't remember who owns Comedy Central. I'm sure there's a company above it. And that could be Warner Brothers. It could be Disney. It could be anybody. But if he was able to go in with some free reign, I think that would be absolutely huge. I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't know if he's interested in doing that. But I think he should. Because I think he was a major voice at the time that could use humor and sarcasm to get across things that people otherwise didn't want to listen to, didn't want to have their eyes opened up. Paramount Global, interesting. So, and I don't think Trevor's funny, but he never really got the command of the audience that Jon Stewart had. So I don't think Apple TV was the right platform for him. So John Oliver really did take that spot, you're right. But he does it once a week. He takes a lot of time off, and he's hyper-focused on one story a week. Stewart tended to cover everything. So, I mean, he did a whole thing about Donald Trump eating pizza with a fork. we'll see how this plays out, what it means. Could just mean Jon Stewart's going back to retirement or loss. So, all right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm tired. I will see you guys next week or Sunday night for Popco the Writers. Hope you all have a great week. Remember to stick around for What's in the Box, the comic book beardies, and SketchUp. And I will see you all next week. Have a great weekend. Good night, everyone.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website,